And Peyton, I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. It's a real honor to play a small role in this year's Salute to the Stars. Ashley and I, like you and Linda, also believe that quality education, sports participation, and community involvement are all very valuable assets to build the leaders we need. I also want to add my congratulations to the incredible recipients of the scholarships and other citations that the John Lynch Foundation has awarded today. I think it's wonderful that John is helping kids today achieve their dreams. It's also a bit ironic because 15 years ago, John Lynch crushed one of my dreams. 2001 Pro Bowl, I was playing for the AFC, John was representing the NFC, and Jerry Rice was also on the AFC team that year, arguably the greatest receiver of all time. And I'd always had a dream to throw a touchdown pass to Jerry Rice. Well, Jerry Rice had told the coach he was only going to play one series in the entire Pro Bowl. He didn't want to play very long, and he had earned that right. So the starting quarterback, Rich Gannon, the Oakland Raiders, he was a starter. He was going to play as long as he wanted to. Well, we drive right down the field, right down to the 20-yard line, and Coach Fisher calls timeout and says, "Peyton, you're going in." I said, "Coach, I don't have to do that. Rich is the starter. He deserves this chance." He says, "No, you're going to throw that touchdown pass to Jerry Rice." So I go in the game, and we call the perfect play. We're going to put Jerry Rice on a post, corner, post. It's going to be wide open. Going to throw this touchdown pass. So I drop back. Right guard didn't make the best block. This guy named Warren Sapp got a little bit of pass rush. I didn't get everything I wanted onto the throw, but yet I think I made the perfect throw. I can see it. Jerry's wide open. It's going right into his hands, and then John Lynch comes and intercepts that pass. I appreciate that, John, very much. I was going through some fan mail the other day. Football players get a lot of fan mail. Quarterbacks probably get more than most. Most of your fan mail is from young people. Usually you can tell by the handwriting on the outside of the letter about what age the person is writing you that letter. So I get most of my mail from 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 5th graders. But I got a letter the other day from Boulder, Colorado, and the man said he was been a season ticket holder of the Broncos since the 60s. The letter went something like this. It said, "Dear Peyton, thank you for coming to play for the Denver Broncos. I never did like John Elway. Always thought he was kind of overrated. Anyway, good luck next year. Stay healthy. Go Broncos. Your friend Paul." I'm thinking, well, it's a nice letter. I'm going to send Paul a picture or something. Looked on down. P.S. Peyton, do you think you can get me John Elway's autograph? I don't know what made me think of this the other day. Probably a drawing that my twins had made, but there's this standard kindergarten art that teachers often have their students do. They press their small hand in the wet plaster, then carve or paint the date on it. It becomes a treasured keepsake for their parents. Others may do the same in wet cement of neighborhood sidewalks. And usually when people do it, they aren't trying to mess anything up. What they're trying to do is to leave a lasting imprint that would be proof that they were there years later. And there's something very comforting about permanence. But the reality is that anything can change in an instant. Records are broken and dreams evolve. When we look back at the small imprint of our hand in plaster or that date on the sidewalk, it's difficult to believe how much time and opportunity has passed. And we're amazed when we realize that our dreams have or haven't taken us. So imagine if, instead of our handprint, name, or date, we embedded a promise to make the lives of someone around us just a little bit better. And then imagine if we went out and we actually did it. Well, you are the people who can. In 1997, in my last year in college at Tennessee, I had finished up my college eligibility and I was doing an interview on my college experience. And I said something that day about being a student athlete, something that I still believe today. Quote, critics ask if athletics are consistent with the educational mission of a school. Well, frankly, those people see the walls that limit us without seeing the spaces that allow us to expand. The reality is that being a scholastic or a collegiate student athlete has a lot more to do with learning than it does with winning. Student athletes learn more than most people about the blessings and lasting pleasure of camaraderie and shared sacrifice, collective responsibility and commitment to excellence, time management, and life management. In some ways, it would have been a lot easier to have been just a football player, or baseball player, or swimmer without being a student. And the opposite holds true as well. It would be much easier to be just a student and left the other sports for some other day in time. But it wouldn't have been as joyous or rich or quite candidly as humbling to have been one without the other. Remember that the next time you hit the wall on the last lap of your race, or bleary-eyed trying to finish your homework and still get a good night's sleep. Remember that when you lose your next competition and struggle to figure out how best to come back and fight again. Each of you has the makings to be a leader, but innate talent simply is not enough today. You have the choice to leave, and there are plenty of athletes who lead in the huddle, but they leave that spark on the playing field or in the locker room. If you have the talent, if you have the will, make it count for more than just numbers on a scoreboard. Speaking of the huddle, I remember the first time I ran into the huddle when I was a freshman at the University of Tennessee. We were playing up at the Rose Bowl, 95,000 people in the stands, ABC broadcasting the game on national television, Keith Jackson and Bob Greasy. Tennessee's ranked 9th in the country, UCLA is unranked, expected to be a blowout that day. I'm third team on the depth chart, not expecting to play that day or really the entire season. Well, the 7th play of the game, our starting quarterback tears his knees out for the year. Our backup quarterback, you may have heard of him, was a guy named Todd Helton. And let's say Todd was kind of thinking about that baseball signing bonus he was about to get. He wasn't real crazy about going to the game either at that point. So we're getting beat 21-0. My coach turns to me and says, Peyton, you're going in. And boy, I didn't think I was nervous. Looked down, all the hair on my arms was just sticking straight up. So I'm jogging into that huddle. And I remember something that my dad had told me. He said, son, if you ever get into the huddle with the starters at any point in the season, it may be in the fourth quarter of a blowout, maybe in practice, doesn't matter. Be the leader and take control of that huddle. That's your job. You're just 18, most of your seniors are 21, 22. It doesn't matter, be the leader and take control of that huddle. So I get into that huddle. I said, all right, guys, I know I'm just a freshman, but I can take us down the field right now, get us a touchdown, and get us back in this game. Let's go. Big left tackle, a guy named Jason Lehman, about 6'5", 330 pounds, grabs him by the shoulder and says, hey, freshman, shut the blank up and call the blank and play. And I said, yes, sir. And it was really great advice from my dad. I really appreciate that very much. According to the 2010 U.S. Census, there were almost 41 million kids between the ages of 10 and 19 in the United States. That would be an incredible army. And if only a fraction of you spread out into the community with the intent of making one thing better, just imagine the ripple effect that would cause. Take your abilities to the community, any community, around the corner, around the world. As young people, you truly have a unique power of persuasion. Go out there and surprise us. Most adults don't expect kids to have the forethought or impact to make a significant difference in our community. But I think that gives you a head start. The shadow of kids doing good today is growing longer and longer every single day. And frankly, more adults should walk in your shadow. And don't get all hyped up and just talk about having an impact. Really go out and do it. Like the John Lynch Foundation that has brought us all here today, The Payback Foundation, our charitable foundation, is also committed to giving kids a leg up. In the communities in which we operate, we've made an ongoing commitment to build their futures through their youth. So we're here for you and for the legions of other people committed to becoming the best that they can be. But don't take that to mean that it's all about you, because it shouldn't be. I was very honored to receive the Most Valuable Player, but there's a difference between valuable and valued. It's the value that I place in this incredible game of football, in the legions of fans who support us, and especially in the Broncos organization that make it so special. I couldn't be more honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with this team, from our general manager, John Elway, to our offensive line, right on down to our fourth assistant equipment manager. Because we stood side by side, we could see the desire in each other's eyes, hear the urgency in each other's voices, and feel the dedication in each and every effort that we made. A single piece of wood that can create a small fire. Think of that piece of wood like an individual. Now think about adding a few more legs, sparking a bonfire big enough to warm a large circle of friends. Well, that bonfire, that's your team. And no one can lead without someone to follow them. Game changers understand the sustained power and influence that flows from their relationships with other people. There's something about putting on a uniform that can make people larger than themselves. Your uniforms on your respective teams or schools stand for something, just as the Broncos, orange and white, does for me. When I put on my pads and I pull that jersey over my head and put my helmet on, it is no longer about me or my personal goals. It's about doing what I have to do to help my team. Confidence is valuable. Have the assurance of a winner, but never convince yourself that you're doing great things by yourself. I can't, and you can't either. Congratulations, thank you, and God bless you, and go Broncos.